Before no further ado, I'm going to introduce everybody to the moderator, Floyd Sims, and we beginning our event. Let's go.
How's everybody doing?
Doing good.
As he said, my name is Floyd. It's a pleasure to be here. It's important that I be here, first and foremost. It's about redemption, right? And what does redemption mean to you, brother? Yes?
Me?
Yeah, what does redemption mean?
Actually means a lot, honestly. Like, if you you're able to improving yourself and truly recognize the real you, then that's redemption. Especially if you did a lot of bad things in the past. We pray for to that powerful brother up there. That's redemption. I mean, you can overcome obstacles and overthrow that, and you actually can step up into that level. I feel that's what redemption
That's
is.
a fact. That's a fact. Well, let me start off by saying that when I was 17 years old, I became the youngest prisoner in the state of Connecticut. And I ended up doing 38 years in prison. I was shipped all across the country. I went in as Floyd, very angry. Really didn't understand my anger. But I knew that there was something inside of me that motivated me to always want to strike out. It wasn't until I discovered that I was born out of lust instead of love. And what I mean by that is this. I had a father who met my mother, and it wasn't predicated upon love. It had nothing to do with love. They probably was in the club, just keeping it real. They met each other, he seen her, and she seen him. They fell for one another. Well, what sprung forth was me. And who became penalized was me. I never knew my father. I met my father twice. And when I met him, I felt as though that I was too old to need him. The streets had already engulfed me. I was caught up. I was gone. I left home when I was 13 years old. I grew up in Bellevue Square. Well, now it's Miss Shepherd's. I grew up in Bellevue Square. And it was rough back in the day, right? And so I did everything that I had to do in order to survive. And that meant creating a lot of harm for myself and for others. It would take me approximately 4.5 years after being in prison and catching over 100 tickets. Just keeping it real with y'all, I was an idiot. All right, so I caught over 100 tickets. One day I was in segregation, and I was down there for having defended somebody that I knew. But I started thinking, why am I always the one and said? Why do I always have to be the one throwing my hands? Why can't somebody else throw their hands? Why they can't go to SEG? These were the thoughts that I was having, the conversation that I was having with myself while I was in SEG. And so I said, what? I'm through with that. Once I get out of here, I'm not going back. So I started talking to God, and keep it real, I didn't know God. I didn't know him like perhaps other people know him. So I'm just talking to him on a regular basis. Hey, I'm tired of this. I don't know what the situation is, but I can't take this no more. You know what I'm saying? I got to fight the police. I got to fight other inmates. I'm fighting myself, more importantly, right? And so I said, if you get me out of this situation, I'm going to change. And that's what I did. I changed my life. I met a brother by the name of Goomba. We called him Goomba. He grew up in the square with me. His name was David. He became David X, and he's the reason why I became Floyd X. But I began to change my life. This brother knows my story quite well, as well as many other brothers and sisters in here. I began to change my life. I got out of SEG, and the conversation that I was having with God, if I could be honest with y'all, went like this. Because you're a beggar when you're in pain. When you're in need, you become a beggar. You'll beg God for anything. You'll stay claim that you won't do this, that, or the other. So that's what the conversation was predicated upon. If you do this, I'll do that. I'll promise this. Hopefully you'll do that. But I got out of SEG. This is how I got out of SEG. I went to Brother David's cell That was Brother Gomba. And I said, brother, I need something to read. Truth be told, some of you not old enough to know who this person is, but I'm gonna give it to you anyways. Donald Gomes was my preference. Because I thought I was a player, you know what I thought, right? But he was like, nah, but I got something else for you. And it was in a gray vinyl cover. And he was like, yo, reach up there and get that book right there. So it was thick. So in my mind, oh, he about to give me something that's gonna make me even sharper. You know, I'm gonna be able to get at these chicks. Hopefully they'll stay around long enough for me to get what I need for 2 or 3 years. And hey, if you're going after that, all right, thank you. Now I move on, right? I didn't know it was a Quran. Brother told me to reach up there and grab it. I reached up there and I grabbed that book. That book changed my life. Excuse me. Because I didn't know who I was. I didn't know what my purpose was. I didn't know where I was going. I had life plus 30 years and then caught more inside for stabbing people and hurting people. Y'all know how we are. We're in environments like that. You know, so I really didn't know where I was going. However, that book changed my life. I read Surah 112, Ikhlas, in that book. And I remember when I was a kid growing up on Barber Street, before we moved to Bellevue Square, Black Panthers headquarters was right next door to us. And I used to sneak in there as a kid, and there was a sign on the wall. And I learned it at 8 years old. It said, I am not in this world to live up to your expectations, nor are you in this world to live up to mine. Now, I always remember that throughout the years. When I read, say he allows one, Allah's he of whom nothing is independent, but upon whom we are dependent. He neither begets nor is he begotten, and there is none like unto him. It hit me. It hit me. At that point, it hit me. I said, you have to forgive yourself. You have to forgive yourself for all the things that you've done to other people, yes, but more importantly, for the harm, the damage that you've done to yourself. If I could be totally honest with you, I may have spent, after my 10th birthday, I may have spent the max of 3 years, what we consider free. All the rest of my years was in prison. In and out of Cheshire. In and out of Washington, on Washington Street. Just a whole bunch of chaos. I never spent more than 3 years with my family. Fast forward, I go to prison. 38 years go by. 38 years. Everybody dies. I come home, and those who I needed to look into their face, they were gone. They had died off. So I came home alone. But I came home with something that had built me up so strong that I needed not worry about anything. Brother, I tell you, I came to him. I was like, how do you need my help? I'm here to help you. Because that's what I wanted to do. Because giving back is important. Giving back is important. And I'm not talking about reaching into your pockets. Because sometimes we just don't have it like that. It's about giving back of yourself. Saying that you're sorry and then acting on it. So, I'm here. After 38 years, I'm here. I won't attempt to glorify prison as so many people do. Because it was a nightmare for me. When I tell you I was shipped all over the country, all over the country. I'm talking about underground. Chain gang. Never to come back. Never to come back. When they gave me that sentence, they had already written me off. I was to die in Summers, Osborne now. I was to die there. I wasn't supposed to make it out of there. But against it all, I stand here today. And I stand here in truth because I wanted to reach back into Hartford and make a difference. You important. Every single one of you. And I tell you, it pains my heart when I'm looking at the news in the morning before I go to work and I see all of this aggression and self-hatred. It pains my heart because at the end of the day, nobody cares about you but you. Nobody's gonna save you but you. People will smile, people will make promises, but at the end of the day, it's you who saves you. It's you. There's 86,400 seconds in the day. What do you do with it? What do you do with it? Do you sit around and play with it? Do you feel self-pity? Do you feel hatred and want to point your fingers at others? Or do you get up, formulate a plan, and then begin to execute that thing? You're learning how to execute it, but it's okay. If someone would have had told me that I didn't have to spend 38 years of my life in prison, all I had to do was to get a trade. All I had to do was to learn something. I would have had done it. Nobody grabbed a hold of me. No one. And shook me. No one done that. What I had to do was learn to reparent myself. I had to learn to reparent myself. I had to forgive myself for everything. And then I had to tell myself, you're greater than that. In spite of your scars, you're greater than that. I believed in that. And I believe in it today. These brothers that sit before you, similar experiences. Similar experiences. There's nothing beautiful about it.